What if I told you Ghana isn't where you think it is? When you hear Ghana, you probably think of this: the vibrant West African nation on the Atlantic coast, independent since 1957, home to 33 million people. But centuries before this Ghana existed, there was another Ghana, a kingdom of unimaginable wealth, a hub of global trade, an empire that controlled the gold that Europe desperately craved. This is the story you were never taught in school. March 6, 1957, the Gold Coast becomes Ghana, the first sub-Saharan nation to gain independence from colonial rule. Kwame Nkrumah, the new nation's leader, chose the name deliberately. Not because his country was located where the ancient empire once stood, it wasn't. The ancient Ghana Empire was over 500 miles to the northwest. Kwame Nkrumah chose Ghana as a symbol, a reclamation of African greatness, a reminder that before colonization, before the slave trade, before European contact, African kingdoms built civilizations that rivaled anything in the world. The name Ghana meant warrior king in the Soninke language, and the empire that bore this name was legendary. Between the 4th and 13th centuries, while Europe stumbled through the so-called Dark Ages, a different story was unfolding in West Africa. The Sahara Desert wasn't a barrier, it was a highway. Salt from the north, gold from the south. And at the crossroads of this billion-dollar trade network sat the Ghana Empire. The Ghana Empire, also called Ouagadougou by its people, emerged around 300 CE. Founded by the Soninke people, it started as a collection of farming communities in the Sahel, the semi-arid zone between the Sahara and West African forests. But these weren't simple farmers. The Soninke had mastered ironworking, they had sophisticated agricultural systems, and most importantly, they controlled the gold. The gold came from regions called Bambouk and Bure, lush areas to the south where rivers ran with gold deposits. But here's the genius: the Ghana Empire didn't mine the gold themselves. They controlled access to it. They taxed it. They regulated it. The Ghana king is the richest man in the world because of his gold. That's from Al-Bakri, an Arab geographer in Spain, writing in 1067. The Ghana Empire's wealth was so legendary that people across the Mediterranean world knew about it. Here is how the system worked. North African and Arab traders brought salt, copper, cloth, and horses south across the Sahara, a journey that could take 40 to 60 days. Salt was literally worth its weight in gold in West Africa. It was essential for preserving food in the tropical climate. At Ghana's trading centers, these merchants would exchange their goods for gold, ivory, and enslaved people. Tragically, slavery existed long before European involvement. And Ghana's kings taxed everything, every ounce of gold leaving the empire, every slab of salt entering it. 1 gold dinar per donkey load of salt. The empire didn't produce much, it controlled the flow, and that made all the difference. At the heart of this empire was Kumbi Saleh, one of the largest cities in the world at the time. The city was divided into 2 parts: the royal city, where the king, his court, and traditional Soninke elite lived. This section had stone buildings, the royal palace, and was surrounded by defensive walls. And the merchant quarter, about 6 miles away, where Muslim traders, scholars, and foreign merchants set up shop. This section had mosques, markets, and cosmopolitan neighborhoods. Arab chroniclers who visited described the city bustling with activity. The king's interpreters, his treasurer, and the majority of his ministers were Muslims. That's from Al-Bakri. Think about what this tells us. This was a multi-religious, multi-ethnic empire where traditional African religions and Islam coexisted, where governance required multiple languages and cultural fluency. Modern archaeology confirms this. Excavations at Kumbi Saleh have uncovered stone buildings and foundations, Arabic inscriptions, gold weights and jewelry, imported pottery from North Africa, and iron tools and weapons. But here's what's most fascinating. The Ghana kings maintained their traditional religious practices as Islam spread among traders and officials. This wasn't ignorance, it was strategy. The kings understood that their legitimacy came from traditional Soninke spiritual authority. Converting to Islam might have pleased foreign merchants, but it would have undermined their power base at home. Political sophistication, cultural negotiation, strategic religious tolerance. This was no primitive kingdom. Remember, Ghana means warrior king. Al-Bakri wrote that the king of Ghana could field an army of 200,000 warriors, with 40,000 of them archers. These numbers might be exaggerated, but the point stands. Ghana was a military power. It had conquered and absorbed numerous neighboring states. Vassal kingdoms paid tribute. In exchange, Ghana provided protection, access to trade routes, and stability. Governance was hierarchical but organized. At the top, the Ghana, the king, who was considered semi-divine and ruled for life. Below him, the royal court, ministers, military commanders, tax collectors, and interpreters. Further down, provincial governors who managed conquered territories and collected tribute. And at the local level, village chiefs and councils who handled day-to-day governance and disputes. Here's a detail that captures Ghana's sophistication. Only the king and his heir may wear sewn clothes. Other people wear robes of cotton, silk, or brocade. Sumptuary laws, regulations on who could wear what, were used to maintain social hierarchy and prevent wealth from translating directly into political power. Sound familiar? Medieval Europe, Imperial China, feudal Japan, they all did the same thing. Ghana was playing the same governance games as empires worldwide. But empires, no matter how powerful, don't last forever. By the 11th century, Ghana faced mounting pressures. Climate change, yes, even back then, brought prolonged drought to the Sahel. Desertification crept southward. Agricultural productivity declined. New powers emerged. The Almoravids, a Berber Muslim movement from the north, launched military campaigns into Ghana's territory in the 1070s. But the real killer wasn't military conquest, it was economic obsolescence. Successor states, particularly the Mali Empire, began to control the gold fields directly. They cut out the middleman. New routes bypassed Ghana's traditional trading centers. The monopoly was broken. Ghana's power was its position. When that position became irrelevant, so was Ghana. By 1240, the Ghana Empire had collapsed. The Soso people briefly took control, but they were also conquered, this time by the rising Mali Empire under Sundiata Keita. Ghana's lands were absorbed, its systems were adopted and expanded. Today, what remains of Kumbi Saleh are ruins in Mauritania, stone foundations, pottery shards, and whispers of a forgotten empire. So why does this matter? Why should you care about an empire that fell 800 years ago, hundreds of miles from modern Ghana's borders? Because when Kwame Nkrumah chose the name Ghana in 1957, he wasn't just picking a cool-sounding word. He was making a statement. We took the name of Ghana to show that we can rule ourselves, just as our ancestors did. For centuries, European colonial powers had justified their conquest of Africa with a lie that Africans had no history, no civilizations, no achievements worth remembering. The narrative was clear. Africa was a dark continent waiting to be civilized. But the truth is, Africa had empires, universities, trade networks, and political systems while Europe was barely literate. The Ghana Empire was just one example. Mali, Songhai, Great Zimbabwe, Aksum, the Swahili city-states, the list goes on. So when modern Ghana took that name, it wasn't nostalgia, it was reclamation. It was a reminder that greatness isn't new to Africa, it's ancestral. And just as the ancient Ghana Empire connected continents through trade,
modern Ghana and Africa are connecting the world through culture, innovation, and influence. The Kingdom of Ghana may have fallen centuries ago, but its legacy of wealth, power, sophistication, and strategic brilliance lives on in the ruins archaeologists continue to uncover, in the classrooms where this history is finally being taught, in the modern Ghana's flag and pride celebrations. This is Ghana Uncovered, where we dig deeper into the stories that shaped our world. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And if you learned something new today, share this video. Let's correct the record together.